Remain standing for the prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for just this amazing day and weekend that we just had. Just thank you for the weather. Thank you for what looked like bountiful fields and crops for the farmers. Just thank you for that. Thank you for every helping hand and able body that helped out with State Line Heritage Days and with the rodeo. Just thank you, Father, for those who serve. Especially when they don't get anything in return, they just do it because they love their community and they want to help. Thank you for that. Bless us with opportunities to multiply that, Father, in each one of us. Bless us with opportunities to see how we can better help and serve this community, regardless of where we're from, what we do, what our name is. It doesn't matter. You love us all unconditionally. We thank you for that. Pray for your guidance and wisdom tonight to help us make decisions that best reflect your heart for this community. We'll give you all the glory and honor and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amy, if you would, roll call.
Gary Elliott.
Here.
Bob Leahy.
Here.
Jason Brewer.
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Tito Frias.
All right. I trust you've had an opportunity to review the agenda as presented, the consent agenda. If there are no comments or questions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. Now, we do have special presenters with us tonight from Baker Tilly. And so, if you guys don't mind, it's for the 2023 financial management report for the city of Union City, both sewage and water.
Yep.
So, if you guys don't mind, I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Yes. Some copies here.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. My name is Joey Mazie. I'm a senior consultant with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, and tonight we're going to walk through the annual financial management reports for each of the water and sewer utilities. So I think let's start with the sewage works financial management report. So if we flip the page to page 2, this first table here represents the cash position of the sewage works over the past few years, and as you can see, the cash balances have steadily increased over the past 2 years, which is great to see. This is due to your annual receipts exceeding your annual disbursements throughout the years, again, which is the goal of a well-run utility. Page 3 kind of takes a deeper dive into the details to kind of the receipts and disbursements history over the past couple of years and breaks that out. So in 2021, the Sewage Works issued bonds through rural development, and that's why, as you can see, the scale of the numbers, it goes from 9.5 million, all the way down to 1 million. That's just because of the bond proceeds that were received, as well as the disbursements related to the construction for that project. And then every year thereafter, again, the continued trend of receipts outpacing disbursements each year. Table 3 kind of breaks out by category your operating disbursements. So traditionally, you have your personnel, your materials and supplies, outside services, purchase power, insurance, repairs and maintenance, and other operating. And historically, you can see that personnel, purchase power, and repairs and maintenance are the three biggest categories, and that's kind of stayed consistent over the past few years, and we anticipate that to continue moving forward. Page 4 of the report kind of just takes a look at just a deeper dive into the cash balances for the sewage works and how that compares to the balances that are required per the outstanding bond ordinance. And so as you can see, the gray line is what's minimum. That's the minimum that's required, and you can tell that what's currently on hand far outweighs what is minimally required, which obviously is great to see once again. And if something were to come up, like an unforeseen event or capital improvement that needs to be paid from this big blue block, which is the depreciation fund, that could easily be taken care of without having to increase rates just because you have such a excess balance in that fund. So the next couple pages here, we're going to kind of go through how the sewage works compared to the budget for 2023. So table 5 breaks out the receipts for the sewage works, and the actual results outpace the budget by about $340,000. This is primarily due to proceeds that were received related to the rural development bonds that kind of it offsets in disbursements. So you're going to see in a couple pages a $273,000 disbursement that kind of nets that out. So if you remove the effect of that, interest income kind of drove that difference. Communities that we work with have kind of seen their interest income has gone up over the past couple of years just due to the rates. Interest rates have just gone up on funds held at a bank. Table 6 goes over your operating disbursements, and actually the sewage works was under budget by about $33,000. This is primarily due to lower than budgeted replacements and repairs and maintenance and materials and supplies, specifically chemicals, were under budget, which, again, given inflation continuing to impact every community across the U.S., that's a great sign that Union City has been able to kind of mitigate those effects. Next page, page 6, kind of goes over the non-operating items. So you have your debt service, which is online with what should have been paid per the amortization schedule, which is towards the back of the report. I'll outline that in a couple minutes. And then you have your capital disbursements. So you have your capital improvements were over budget by about $337,000, and $273,000 of that again was due to the project that relates to the rural development bonds. That's kind of what I mentioned earlier a couple minutes ago. And then the 2023 budget for other capital improvements is just set based on what's currently allowed in your rates each year. At the top of the next page, page 7, kind of outlines just kind of big picture how the sewage works compared to the budget. So the 2023 actual results was a positive cash flow for the sewage works of about $40,000, whereas the 2023 budget budgeted for a positive cash flow of $44,200. So again, just showing that the Union City just kind of outpacing the budget, again, which is what we've historically seen in the past couple of years with the utility. Table 9, we kind of forecast over the next couple of years what we anticipate the receipts and disbursements are going to look like. So table 9 shows the projected receipts over the next couple of years through 2028, and we kind of base this based on no customer growth, just current levels of revenue for collection and treatment services. And then for interest income, we're assuming that the utility invests 80% of their cash at 1.5%, which compared to previous years, we were assuming interest rates of close to 0%. So that's kind of why moving forward, it's in the $25,000-$30,000 range versus historically it's been about $5,000-$6,000 up until 2023. Next page, page 8, table 10 just kind of breaks out the operating disbursements that we're expecting in the next couple of years. Estimated year 2024 is based on the budget that was provided per utility management, and then 2025 through 2028 are adjusted for an inflationary factor each year. Table 11 breaks out your debt service over the next 5 years, and that's just, again, just based on the amortization schedule that is shown on, in a couple pages, and it's about the same amount each year, which is as intended. Page 9, table 12 of the report kind of breaks out the estimated capital improvements that we're going to estimate for the next couple of years, and the $161,000 in each year, again, is the allowance that's allotted, that's built into your rates every year without them needing to be adjusted. And then the capital improvements related to the rural development project are just assumed to be zero moving forward. So this table on the bottom of the page kind of breaks out that over the next 5 years, we are anticipating a negative cash outflow in each of the next 5 years. However, since there's such a greater portion of funds on hand that are more than what's required, this allowance you can kind of go a decent amount of time without having to adjust rates. And that's kind of shown on the next page, table 13. The white bar graph shown in table 13 is what's legally required to be kept on hand. And then the blue bar is what we're anticipating to actually be on hand. So, it's almost triple or quadruple in every single year. So that's a great sign of healthy cash balances. And it looks like that the sewage works will be able to kind of absorb these negative cash flows for the foreseeable future until those minimum balances exceed what's actually on hand. Then that's when a good sign of when rates would typically want to get increased. Table 14 just kind of breaks out what the average rates look like for Union City compared to the state average. We're looking to do our statewide rate study. We usually do it about every 2 to 3 years, and it's been 2 to 3 years since we've done the last one. So I'm going to just make a pretty good guess that the average sewer and water bills across the state are higher than what is shown here. I'm going to guess that they're probably in the $55, $60 range for sewer and $40, $45 range for water. Pages 11 and 12 show the amortization schedule for the outstanding rural development bonds that I mentioned earlier. They're expected to be paid off in 2061. There's a 40-year term for rural development bonds. Page 13 shows the annual capital improvement budget, and this again ties back to what is allotted each year, and that's built into your rates without needing a rate increase. So as you can see, it's the same $161,000 allowance each year. Page 14 shows what the present rates are. That's per your rate ordinance, and these rates and charges came into effect in January of 2022. Then finally, page 15 shows where Union City's average sewer bill is compared to surrounding communities. And as you can see, it's about in the median, which is, it's about where you want to be, especially when you're comparing to communities around you. And so overall, the sewage works is in pretty darn good financial health where we're at right now. Are there any questions about the report or its findings? Okay, perfect.
Good.
All right, so then we'll transition to the water utility report. It's laid out similar, so this should be a little bit easier to follow. So page 2 of this report again shows the breakout of the cash balances and how they've been trending over the past few years. And as you can see, again, similar to sewer, the cash balances have steadily increased over the past few years, again, due to continually the receipts outpacing the disbursements each year, which again is something that you want to achieve and strive for each year. Tables 2 and 3 on the next page again show a breakout of receipts and disbursements and just percentages of those operating disbursements. And this again shows that receipts are continually outpacing disbursements in each year. However, that gap is starting to close a little bit in 2023. That's primarily due to increased operating expenses. As you can see, it's about an $100,000 increase year over year from 2022. Table 3 again shows a breakout of operating disbursements, and personnel and repairs and maintenance tend to be the two largest increases, or the two largest components of your O&M. Again, which is kind of what we've seen over, that trend has continued over the past few years. Table 4 shows again how cash balances are playing out compared to what's minimum required per your bond ordinance, and that gap is not as large as it is in the sewage works, and so that's just something that just needs to be kept in mind when, if you were to go issue new debt, you want to make sure that the cash that's on hand is greater than the minimum required, so that you're not violating any of your outstanding bond covenants. And that increase in your minimum required is driven primarily by your operation and maintenance disbursements continuing to increase year over year, and that's primarily driven to just inflationary factors that are more or less outside the control of the city. The next few schedules, again, we'll just kind of go through how the water utility compared budget versus actual for 2023. So your receipts outpaced the budget by about $67,000, and this is driven primarily due to the ethanol plant flows increasing in 2023, which is driving that $56,000 positive variance between the actual and the budget. Everything else is about what we would expect to see compared to the budget. Operating disbursements for 2023 were again under budget, much like the sewage works. Again, driven primarily due to lower repairs and maintenance disbursements that were budgeted for, but this is offset a little bit by increased salaries and wages at the plant, which is the reason for the about $15,000 variance between the actual and the budget. Page 6, we're looking at the non-operating items again, so your debt service and your capital. Debt service, again, right on schedule per the amortization schedule. That's going to be in a few pages again. And then your capital improvements were slightly higher, primarily due to some hydrant replacements that came in a bit higher, as well as the radio read meter replacements that came in above budget as well. Page 7 of the report, we're again, big picture. The water utility experienced a positive cash flow of about $13,000, whereas the budget anticipated a negative, about $34,000 negative cash outflow. So the water utility outpaced the budget by about $47,000. So again, that's a great thing to see, and that's something that should be continued to strive for moving forward. Table 9, again, just estimated receipts for the next couple of years. There was a rate increase in 2023 that goes out to 2025, so that's why metered sales, net of sales tax, and the ethanol plant receipts are going up in 2024 and 2025, is to build in those assumed rate increases moving forward. Everything else is assumed at the calendar year amount, except for interest income, which we're assuming again 80% of the cash is invested at about 1.5%, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen lately in terms of interest rates. Page 8, Table 10, we're going to be looking at estimated operating disbursements, and much similar to sewer, the 2024 estimated year is based on the budget that was provided by management, and then 2025 through 2028, again, build in an inflationary factor of 3% each year. Table 11 shows the debt service for the outstanding 2009 bonds. And one thing to note here is that the 2009 bonds are going to be paid off in 2029. So once 2029 does come around, then those funds that would have had to be allocated towards paying the debt service will now free up. And so that will allow some future cash to become available. Table 12 shows the estimated capital improvements. Capital improvements for the estimated period are based on utility management and the consulting engineers. This is related to the proposed Cardinal ethanol project. And so this summary table here on the bottom of page 9 shows that assuming no future rate increases or any customer growth or any factors not described in this report, the water utility is going to continue to experience positive cash inflows for the foreseeable future, which again is illustrated in table 13. The green bar shows what's required to be held on hand per the bond ordinance, and the blue bar is what we estimate is actually going to be in hand. So that gap, as I mentioned earlier, is again a little bit thin historically, but moving forward we anticipate that disparity to grow, which is a nice thing to see. Again, table 14 shows the average bill for Union City compared to other communities, and the average water bill for Union City is about $5 lower than the average, and we're gonna, that's something that's gonna be continued to keep on the lookout for, is the state average rates for both water and sewer are probably going to increase once we do our statewide rate study here coming up in the next year or so. Page 12 shows the amortization schedule for the 2009 bonds, and like I mentioned earlier, you can see in 2029 that those bonds will be paid off, and so that cash that will have been allocated to pay these bonds off will free up and beginning in 2029. Page 13 shows the replacements and improvements capital improvement budget for the next 4 years, and again it's the same amount every year, and that's based on input provided by management and the consulting engineers. Page 14 shows the two phases that are currently in place for the water utility for phases 2 and 3, and phase 3 goes into effect of January 1st of this year, and these rates and charges were adopted in March of last year. And finally, the last page, page 15, shows kind of, again, a similar graph breaking out where Union City sits for their water rates compared to surrounding communities. And again, it's a similar story. Being right in the middle of the surrounding communities is a great thing to see. And we anticipate that this to be the case moving forward. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you so much. I'm curious, what would you be able to illustrate or shed any light on SRF funds? I know it's something that we have approached and are in the midst of pursuing.
Yes.
For the South Main Water Loop.
Yes.
And
yes.
that is to afford expansion into the industrial park.
Correct.
And supply Cardinal and make sure that we're staying ahead of the curve in terms of what is needed of us versus what we're able to safely supply.
Yes, so SRF just came out with their project priority list, which kind of lays out, they give a ranking of projects that they deem are the most necessary to the communities that they're serving, and Union City did place within the fundable range within those group of projects, which means they qualify for the subsidized SRF interest rate, which is much lower than what you would get on the open market. And we're currently actually in the process of, we're anticipating on closing in June of 2025 on that project. So we got some time to kind of get everything squared away, cross all our T's, dot all of our I's, so that once we do close on the project, then we can fully, get in motion and start construction on the project.
I appreciate that. And because I know one of the things that they had mentioned was that they, being the governing body over SRF funds, wants to see water rate increases commensurate with what
they are able to grant.
Yes.
In other words, are you helping yourself? What are you doing to help yourself before we attempt to help you?
Yes, and Union City's done a great job, like the mayor mentioned, of kind of staying ahead of the curve, keeping the rates as low as they possibly could before needing a big project like this. And I think the new SRF threshold for kind of rates where they would like to see before they start giving money is $65 for 4,000 gallons. Now, tradition is always $35, $45. And so, again, that just kind of shows staying ahead of the curve is extremely important, and this project will, again, kind of continue that trend moving forward for the foreseeable future.
Any questions?
No.
Well, thank you very much.
Excellent, thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, department reports. Definitely want to call out State Line Heritage Days Committee and all those, not only with that, but also the rodeo on Saturday. Just outstanding job. I know the State Line Heritage Days was a challenge with Mother Nature not cooperating to the fullest. And you guys are welcome to stay for the meeting, but you're also not.
Okay.
Certainly, you're welcome.
I like staying here and what's going on for a little bit, so.
No worries, whatever you're comfortable with. So yeah, just kudos to both of those, because that's a lot of effort. I say, you never know what goes into it until you're in it. You know, it's the same thing with the park with the lights. You know, you show up and the lights are up, but it's not that easy. So there's a lot that goes into that. So I appreciate their efforts. Also, we have the opportunity for Okras, which we've been waiting, the homeowner occupied rehab grant. We've been waiting for this to become available again so we can help residents in the community. I'll just read this off here so everybody's aware, because we're trying to grease the skids now, because it opens in November is the round that we're shooting for. The City of Union City is applying for a homeowner rehabilitation grant through the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. Qualifying Union City, Indiana residents will be invited to apply for this program, which addresses home repair needs in the following areas. I am speaking loud for on purpose. Roof repair and or replacement, ADA accessibility, which refers to entrance ramps, heating and cooling replacement, lighting and electrical upgrades, and water heater replacement. So those are the 5 categories, and roof obviously being a big one. Yearly income limits to be eligible for the program are 1-person household making $45,450 or less, 2 persons making $54,950 or less, 3 persons making, make sure I've got these are all thrown off here, $58,450 or less, 4 persons making $64,900 or less, 5 persons in the household. So in other words, we don't expect there to be 5 people in the household making money. Picture 2 spouses and then kids. If they have 3 kids, $70,100. 6-person household, $75,300. 7-person household, $80,500. 8-person household, $85,700. So some pretty generous income limits where people would qualify. And if you qualify, the max you can get up to $25,000 per application. So that's pretty large. Now the max grant, I believe, is $250. Is it $250? Steve, you remember? It's either $2 or $250.
For the community, yes.
Yeah, for the community.
That's max.
$250 is the max. So it'd be, if everybody maxed out on their application, it'd be 10 households. But the beauty of it is, if somebody only needs 1 or 2 things done, and they spend $18,000, that's $7,000 more we throw back in the hopper to help someone else. So we're hopeful we can help as many folks as possible with this grant. So applications will be available. They're not as of yet. I'm trying to get the news out so we can start, again, getting word out. If you know people that are in need, if you've heard people that are looking for assistance, applications will be available eventually at the Union City, Indiana office on a first-come, first-served basis. Single-wide mobile homes are not eligible. That's not a Union City rule. That's Okra. So this is a foundation home with the income requirements as mentioned. So good stuff. So we're hopeful that we want to try to get the word out now so we can start collecting interest and make sure we submit a good package to Okra and get the grant. So that's just a heads up. So, all right. Department, Mark, did you have anything you wanted to address?
No.
Okay, no worries. Amy?
Actually, I do have a couple things.
Yes.
When we're still in the process of working on the budget, and there was an item that came up, it's the American Rescue Plan, that we currently have a balance of $2,127 in there. In the past, funds from this account have been used for the advocacy center, and I know that was something that you've been working on, trying to find additional funds for them. This is an account that there will not be any additional funds coming into, so I'd really like to try to clean this account out before the year end. And so, I mean, I'm thinking that would be another source of funds for the advocacy center. It would help me paperwork wise, and plus give them, you know, the funds that are sitting there in this account.
What was the number on that again?
It's $2,127,
Okay.
and that's out of the American Rescue Plan, the ARP funds.
I would hereby entertain a motion for such funds.
I'll make the motion, we approve the payment to Advocacy Center for $2,127 from the American Rescue Plan Fund.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott?
Yes.
Bob Leahy?
Yes.
Jason Burr?
Yes.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
Who was the second on that one?
Bob.
Bob.
Me.
Bob? Okay, thank you.
That's good.
And then, other than that, I mean, we're still in the thick of the budget, so they still have some requests trickling in, but we're just kind of waiting for their emails, so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you. Council members. Gary, we'll start with you this time.
I only have one thing. I had one of the business owners ask me if there was a schedule for the new, like, trash cans that they put out. Is it like the regular trash totes? Is there a certain time that they pick those up, that's a scheduled thing, or
Wednesday morning.
Generally Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
early Wednesday morning?
And that's under the assumption that we don't have a substitute driver and the truck can actually get to the trash can.
And I have.
I'm aware of that. Okay, yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up because I've actually this morning I just sent a message to Brad that, you know, one of the benefits or one of the things about the city being busier downtown now is the trash cans. Some of the trash cans fill up quicker because I noticed the one under the shelter on the corner was overflowing. So I did reach out to Brad so they could get that dumped beforehand because it couldn't wait till Wednesday. So if they've got one that's overflowing, we want to make sure it's taken care of because that's not good.
They'd emptied it themselves a couple of times, you know, but and they also asked about the tables in the pavilion. Is there's a schedule that people clean those down? Because they've done that also a couple of times, but they didn't know if that was on any schedule.
It's not, but I can talk to Brad.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have a portable a power washer that's rather mobile?
Yeah, it's a $600,000 back truck.
That might be killing an ant with a hammer. I'm just saying something. Maybe a rag and a water bottle or something. Something just to make sure the tables are clean. So.
Realistically, it's probably just a conversation with Carrie. He's doing artisan crossing, he's cleaning the bathrooms, that's on their routine. I've talked to them in the recent history about, we have more than just Harder Park, and that area probably falls under the jurisdiction of the park as well.
Yeah.
So we're refining some of those processes, we'll get it.
Yeah, because it gets used a lot actually. So.
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I've got 3 items here from concerned citizens. The first one being about the coca plant and the company housing. There are serious concerns about that operation and the housing in general. I don't know if there's anything you can elaborate on for.
Nope, not at the moment, because like I said, you guys would have to approve the plan anyway, so you guys don't even have the prints and the housing. So anybody that's worrying about it, it's unfortunately, how do I want to put this? It's premature. So.
And then the other, I think the part 2 to that question would be the importing of workers.
That's completely.
So there's been no, somehow that started on Facebook. I don't have an understanding of how. There's
Okay.
been no conversation about that whatsoever. From day one, he's wanting to create jobs for local people. There's been no conversation about importing people to work in that.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that.
Okay. All right. The second one is an update on the Governor Gray subdivision, what's going on there, and how the city could recoup their investment.
Well,
Which I believe there's a clawback, right, contract?
yeah.
So,
So that land will come back to us if the homes aren't built. So here's the worst case scenario. We get all that land back and we have infrastructure for new homes, which we didn't have before. I feel like I've said the same thing a million times, but unfortunately I'll keep saying it again. If we had not put that infrastructure in, we had no, here's the thing. Because the infrastructure wasn't already in, we missed our opportunity the first go round. If that infrastructure had been in when the housing boom was occurring, we would have been good to go and we would have had new homes. But by the time the infrastructure was done, that's when inflation hit and everything went through the roof. And so that's what caused our gap. Now, I will say this. I don't know why the model home's not being built yet, because he's supposed to have, that dirt should already be, they've marked the utilities.
yeah.
I don't know why. I'll check with Ricky to see why the model home's not up. So there's supposed to be model homes going up already.
I think they've got it staked off and a permit,
but it
maybe even
should
a
have been.
building permit on that, I believe.
They should be pouring a foundation by now. Yeah.
So in tying to that, then didn't we have part of our Ready To grant, wasn't there a portion of Ready To?
That we applied
We
for.
applied
Right.
for
Correct.
infrastructure,
Correct.
basically to replenish infrastructure funds that we
Correct.
committed to.
Correct. That's all
So-
correct. But I don't know.
I know there's,
Yeah.
I know we're still up in the air on awards, but I'm assuming that would replenish the money that's we've bonded.
Correct. That is correct. But again, I can't.
Until we
I
get,
don't know what that figure is and when we would have it, but
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
but that's in the mix on that, so that could potentially, if not necessary, I'm not gonna pretend to think it would be all the money, but it would be a significant portion of the investment.
Right.
Got the bond burden.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where's the concern coming from? Not who, where.
Citizens.
No,
I
not
mean-
who, where. Where, from what is causing the concern?
Oh. Just, I guess, what they've probably been hearing or reading, I'm assuming. I mean,
What are they hearing and reading?
What I've been asked, what I've basically asked it.
No, I mean, but I still am confused because I guess I'm struggling to understand. Are they concerned that there's not going to be any houses, and so we shouldn't have the streets and the curbs and stuff, or do they want
That I
development?
get. I thought you were referring back to the first one, but the second one is just basically what the status is. That's
Okay.
That's it.
Are they interested in building?
Nothing was mentioned to me about it. But
Okay. Do they know someone that's interested in building?
Not that I know of.
Could you ask them to relay that to you and
Yeah.
us
Yeah,
if they have?
sure can.
When I've had questions about that, I never got any negativity of, we shouldn't have done this.
Right. I
it's
don't
just
think
a
it was
matter
anything
of-
negative about it. It was just
Okay.
Just
you know,
concern
sorry,
about
Tim.
the expense of this in the future, as far as
Okay.
if thinking in the worst case scenario type thing.
Okay,
It's just-
I got you.
We're
That
concerned about our budgetary,
That-
budget situation. I
that
guess.
makes me feel better
Yeah,
from that
That's, I don't
component,
think,
but
like I say, I've had questions similar to what Bob's asking, and like I say, I can't think of any time that I've had anybody say, you shouldn't have done this, or
Okay.
this wasn't a good idea, or
Right.
whatever. They would love to see houses built there, they wish there were houses being
okay.
built.
And so do we.
Obviously, but for the same reasons, but they're also concerned about what if you don't get development right away?
Gotcha.
How does this
Yeah.
affect us
I got you.
in terms
And
of,
that's
does this,
that's that. I
do we have a
appreciate
negative
that.
effect on services or anything
Yes,
like, and it's
right.
not a matter of, it's just a matter of being prepared for it. in
Right.
terms of their-
Absolutely.
People,
Now that I
people want to
appreciate.
know stuff like
I
that.
appreciate that. That's
Yeah,
valid. That's valid.
Yeah,
I had concern. I guess it's like they didn't want it. I was like,
nothing.
we're
negative.
never going to harvest anything if we don't plant any
Right.
seeds at all.
No, I don't think there's
So,
a,
okay.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think it was
I
any
can't speak for
negative
Bob,
intent.
that there's
You know.
not a
Okay,
negative
gotcha.
intent.
Yeah.
And that I completely
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
I get that,
I
and
was
that's a
kinda
valid question, and we absolutely
between.
need.
When we
Yeah.
started that, I knew we were behind as far as
Yeah.
where we should have been if we had a
Yep.
crystal ball, but at the same time, you don't know. You have
Yeah.
no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on.
Can't predict that.
And
But-
a few minor changes in the way things went a few years ago, a couple of years ago, and we could be in a completely different situation. You know, if interest rates weren't where they are, things, a couple of minor things, a vote or two in Congress and a couple of other circumstances that could be completely different. We'd be in the catbird seat.
Well, and here's one of the things that stood out to me. I heard this story about 4 or 5 days ago, and I appreciated it because I can understand the plight. And it was the Winchester, the housing development by the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
When that gentleman did that development, and they invested in the streets, and pretty much very similar to this. The only thing is we don't have a golf course, however, we're just less than a block from the school, and there's designed for a walking path straight to the park, which is close. And they got that done. He put up 2 houses, 2 spec houses. They sat there, and they sat there, and they sat there, and he took all kinds of what for people saying you shouldn't have done that, or that's never going to happen, or you're never going to sell, all that stuff. And now you know what it is today. It's filled to the brim, and it's probably Winchester's finest housing development, and one of a large source of revenue for them, and pride and quality house, all that stuff. And so, again, I completely get the frustration because trust me, I've felt it. My wife and I have already had a couple of folks down to the house to get appraisal done in our house because we think we would like to build out there to develop. I say I feel like I need to put a flag in the ground out there. And I don't want to, I like my house. I like where I live. I like 812 North Columbia. I put everything into it. We poured ourselves into that house. But I feel like and we are not in a financial position to be able to build a new house and still have that house. So we have to sell that house if we're going to build. I don't really want to sell the house that I first held my son in. I don't want to sell the house that I walked into the house for the first time with my 3-year-old daughter, But I feel like I need to do that because I feel like if I'm going to stick myself out there to say this is what's possible, then I feel like I need to stick myself out there and say and show this is what's possible. Now I can show you the housing, the model. And it's one of those deals where, I know we live in a world of doubting Thomases, without a doubt, because I often am one. I understand we live in this environment where it's like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And the sad thing about that is that if you always live under those premises, you will never do anything for people to see. And it scares me because that's the mentality. That's the mentality that we live in a lot of times in small communities. And I drive through a lot of small communities. And the closer I get to, it's not going to be a shock to anybody, the closer I get to Indianapolis, the better everything looks. You could fall, and we met with a couple on Friday to take them around town. Well, it's not a couple. It was a interested developer or investor and her mentor. And she wants to build, and she wanted to see, she'd already been to see the housing development, but she wanted to meet with us to see what else is going on before I would build. So we took her through Vision Corner, took her through downtown, all that. And so the good thing is she emailed us that evening and wants to continue the dialogue.
That's good.
But yeah, that's good, exactly. But it's one of those things where I told her, I said, I'm amazed every time I go toward Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers, you name it. Where you're smiling, where are you from?
Zionsville.
Zionsville, where are you from?
Plainfield.
Plainfield. You could roll out of your bed and hit anything with a rock with my arm, which I don't have an arm, and it'd be new. I mean, it's amazing. I can't get that to pull up, but I'll show you here's the small picture of it.
That comes with its downsides too.
I know, it does. And trust me, I'm not saying I'm not proud of where we live and I'm not thankful. It's that right there. Every time I pull it up, here, you can take the iPad. Every time, well, we have so much to be thankful for. And in fact, we're trying to market against your area. Because all you see is urban sprawl, and it just keeps getting bigger, 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 bigger. And we like to lay claim to that small town living. But yeah, I talked to her, it's like, how do you achieve that balance between small town living and growth? You know what I'm saying? Where you still feel small and quaint, and everybody knows your names, you feel safe, you sit on your porch, all that stuff, but at the same time, you have amenities that you like to take part in, or you feel like your kids have opportunity for growth and development, and all that stuff. So that's a balance. But again, it can't happen fast enough. And I know we're sitting here, it's 2024 in August, 12th? And we finished the infrastructure, when last year? We finished it last year sometime. You know, so we're sitting at a year where we don't have a home up with somebody living in it. Totally get it.
One thing that gets lost, 2019, and we know these things because of the Housing Resource Hub, all the housing infrastructure studies that have been done in the county. 2019, there was 0 building permit requests for new construction in this county. Okay, we step out on a limb, we take a gamble, we build infrastructure. That's done. Since that infrastructure project started, we've had 9 brand new homes built in this community. That's unheard of. Winchester doesn't have 9 brand new homes in their community. That's unheard of. So I get it. Everybody's nervous and they see a blank canvas and they don't see anything coming out of the ground. But what I want you to understand also is Randolph County has never built a brand new neighborhood. There's multiple struggles with getting things through the courthouse and through that process. That took extra time. There's been a multitude of things. The conversation came up is that are we building the right thing? Do we need to build 62 new single family homes? Is that what the market is looking for? So we've had to kind of revisit what that looks like exactly. But again, we can't argue with the commitment that you people made for our community moving forward in the future is driving development. It is having positive results. There are people from outside coming here and investing their money in our community. Mm-hmm. Our net assessed value is going up because of that infrastructure. That cannot, you can't argue with that. We've got 9 new homes since 2019 when we started.
And I think we've had spoken to us that some of those homes from a builder are somewhat driven by the Governor Gray edition, even though they're not in the Governor Gray edition, have nothing to do with it, but it basically is grabbed his attention.
Right.
That development kind of grabbed his attention and got his attention in the first place. So now
There's soon to be
in
3
an
more.
area that needed to be finished.
Right, right.
There's soon to be 3 more.
Yeah.
It's three foundations already in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes, when I talk about, to share the story about Winchester and that development, it makes me wonder what neighborhoods in this town were built at one point or another, and people are like, what in the world are they thinking? Because I'm telling you, as sure as I sit here, 80 years from now, those streets will be filled. They will. It'll be filled. It'll take a while. I better not take 8 years, but they will be filled. And this will be a long distance discussion that will be forgotten. But I know right now it's frustrating. I get that. So, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, and the reality of it, the last time there was a major development like that done, probably the oldest person in this room was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So.
Yeah, I don't.
I wasn't.
I do. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember.
It was probably
last
I
development.
was younger than that.
Huh?
I was younger than that.
Well, yeah, you and I were.
Yeah.
What's your third question?
Okay.
Sorry.
Almost forgot. No. The exchange of labor with Union City, Ohio. Who is responsible for accounting for man hours and equipment and materials?
When materials are bought.
The department heads, and depending on what project it is, if it's an Ohio project, Ohio is paying for the materials, and if it's an Indiana project, the Indiana side pays for the materials, and the man hours for the equipment that is listed in the ordinance is tracked by the department heads.
Okay.
So Brad and Rob.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Jason?
you.
I don't have anything.
I'm good.
Thank
I
you.
don't have anything right now.
And Jason, by the way, thank you for your efforts with Cars and Coffee on Saturday.
Yeah, it was
Thank you for that.
perfect weather.
Oh, it's gorgeous that day.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
I'm frustrated because all I can do is just kind of look over.
I think we had about 5. We had 5 first-timer show-ups. That was nice to see. 5 new people, 5 new cars, trucks. Everyone hung around for 2-3 hours, talked. It was just great weather and great fellowship, and awesome.
Awesome. You create that atmosphere for them. That's awesome.
Thank you.
No business. So, sorry, Steve. Did you have anything you wanted to?
You guys should have in your packets some paperwork that's, we don't need to do anything on it tonight. There's a facade grant application for the Apostolic Church on Pearl Street. I'm not speaking for you guys, but I'm assuming you're going to want them to work on restoring their building. It's not a black and white picture of all the work because they need to technically do the tuck pointing on the masonry before they can clearly have a better understanding of what work they have to do as far as the painting side goes. So there's a little bit of wiggle room. Might get to $10,000, I don't know. And then you have the ordinance amendment for the salary, which would be intended to match position by position, qualification by qualification, the Ohio side employees for police, fire, and public utilities. So the Ohio side has already passed all of that through their salary ordinance process. So to get to an even playing field payroll-wise, we would need to pass this at the next meeting. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and give me a call.
All right. Yeah, no business. So new business with the Union City, Indiana Housing Needs Assessment. This is a proposal from K.I.S.S Consulting to do a needs assessment for another housing grant that we would pursue, but this would not be until, I told him, I said, budget-wise, it wouldn't be till next year. So, the only approval I would entertain would be if we wanted to go forward with the study, it would only be, it'd be a proposal or a motion with, holding off until next year for basically the cost of the study. But that's even if you would approve the study. So if you don't approve the study, then it's obviously a moot point. You can get a gist of the summary of what he'd be doing there, or what he would proposes in the scope of work. Basically, needs assessment, which include demographic and economic analysis, housing stock analysis and their conditions, surrounding market analysis, and then also obviously based on that, the community needs and preferences, and then obviously he would also go into projections in terms of potential growth, future housing needs, and what the gaps are to meet those. So in fact, he goes further in terms of what his recommended strategy would be in implementation, but this is all to appease what the grant requirements would be. And the grant is through rural development. I don't think he has anything in here about detail on the rural development grant, but the grant itself, I believe, is, Dave's usually watching, I'm surprised if he texts me while I'm talking, but I think it's, God forbid, forgive me for saying this, I think it's only a $100,000 grant. But I see only because Okra is $250 for rehab. But this would be a similar thing, except for the fact that it's got more leeway. It would be, you could use it for siding, you could use it for windows, it's got a lot more exterior renovations you could do for the home. I thought it was $100,000, but I don't remember if he said to you or not.
I'm going to butcher this, but I will try to answer it. I think there's a cap on the amount of money rural development has available for the entire state.
Right.
And he uncovered that they're not issuing the funding. So I think
That is correct.
I think there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 in total, but I think it's based, the award ends up being based on how many people apply for it. And
Right.
he said the last few years, nobody's been applying for this.
And that is correct, he assured that, yeah. It still remains a competitive grant though, but. So, and you don't have to even make a decision tonight if you don't want to.
Is there a match in the grant then also, or?
I don't believe.
No, this is not
match.
It
Not a
would
match.
be going basic, it would basically be working directly with the property owner through the city. And
Right.
if they needed 45,000, the grant in theory could give them 45,000.
Yeah. Right. So we just have what in-kind work we do, and then the $10,000 for the consultant
study,
work,
yeah.
the study. Okay, that's fine.
There would also, just to be fair, there would be some administration costs once we apply for the
Right,
grant,
yeah.
things like that.
But those are, yeah, but no
Those are usually minimal.
actual match otherwise. Because I
No-
know we always
no match
have that,
required by
so,
rural development.
yeah.
And that's a different grant than what we were talking about.
Correct.
Even though both, that 250 came up again, I'm like, okay, it's
It's a
different.
different alphabet agency within the federal government. So
Yeah.
one's Okra, one's rural development.
Okay.
I'd like to consider it, but I'd also like to mull it a little bit. and
Okay,
look it over
that's fine.
closer, too.
You guys feel the same
Everybody
way?
else feels.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
wait.
Okay.
Since we're obviously not gonna be able to do anything till next year anyway.
That's fine.
I mean, we don't wanna put it off too long.
Yeah, his offer was to begin work on it, but then not invoice until next year, so. But, conflict of interest form for janitorial services. This, you also have in your packet, you'll notice that Jeanette Escobar, I believe, has started cleaning offices for the city. But she is also a front office employee. So as is standard, you see there, uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement needs to be completed which is Indiana Code 354413. And so she has done that and stating what she does, and it obviously, and she has signed it, so this would need approval from council. Her compensation for janitorial services is approximately $4,800 for the year. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we,
Go ahead, Tim.
I'll move we accept the conflict of interest form for janitorial services by Jeanette Escobar.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All the, Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Burr.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
And lastly, Tim, if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, for those of you who have not met me, I am Timothy Wells. I work with community arts around the region. I've been in Union City for, 4 years? I started off over at Mississauga Valley and did the big mural over on the Ohio side. Chad, with his great connections with Indiana Arts Commission, secured Union City being one of 11 communities in the state selected for the Creative Convergence Grant. I don't know what that means, but we accept it. We went to a conference, learned all kinds of great stuff, which fits in perfectly with what you guys have been talking about, which is how arts integrate into the quality of life and vitality of a community. The proposal we pitched to Indian Arts Commission and was approved was doing an arts project pitch competition. So what we're going to do is going to spread the word around to the community. We're looking for visual arts, performing arts, literary arts, and culinary arts. And people can pitch their projects, small to large, if they just want, if someone needs some art supplies, they can work on an art project for increasing their skills and business, or if someone wants to pitch a $500,000 sculpture in Middletown. Is anything in between? We'll be doing 4 workshops. They're currently scheduled in October that the people who are applying for the pitch are required to attend. They'll be learning business skills, how to prepare their budget, how to prepare their pitch, and then they'll make the pitch. The pitch will be judged by the select panel and the community. We're hoping to integrate K.I.S.S TV in with this so that the community is getting to vote on what projects will be coming to town. That was really drilled into us at the conference we went to with Indian Arts Commission, which was you have to get the community engagement and community involved with what you're doing. And this is the best way we could come up with to find out what the community wants and put something in place that will help increase pride in community and draw people to town. At this point in time, there's no action required other than spread the word to everyone you know who might know artists or know artists and get them in touch with me. You can probably do the Arts in Union City Alliance Facebook page, and I'll get the information out so folks can find us. And we'll be doing small sessions and meetings through August and September to get people aware of what's going on, putting in interest. And then, like I said, the workshops are scheduled for October. November will be the pitch, and then they'll be completing their projects from January through May, because this is funded through IAC through the calendar year. So the projects have to be done by May, so we have time to complete the paperwork to submit to IAC. Larger projects that will go beyond that time frame, we'll just take into account and find community support for making them happen. Any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Does anyone have any connections who would be interested in art projects? Like I said, it's the vision arts, literary, culinary, and performing arts.
I guess, is this a grant that it just says grant on our paperwork, so there's a grant involved someplace?
Yes, we've applied for and received the grant from IAC for the project, and it's
Okay.
a $10,000 grant with IAC money.
Okay.
And then additional funding will be needed to cover costs for the projects to get approved.
So
And
is it a matching grant or just a
It's
straightforward grant?
straightforward, no matching.
Okay.
This is the second year they've done this program, and it was so successful last year. They did it again. I don't know what strings Chad pulled.
Actually, it was, oh gosh, I can't remember her name. It heads up the arts for the state of Indiana.
Leah?
Huh?
Leah?
No, not Leah. But we have communicated.
Right.
I can't remember. I apologize. I can't
Okay.
remember her name. But she'd been to Union City actually, and she sent this email out saying, "Hey, I think that's something you might be interested in." And so, we applied. Tim was great in doing the application. I said, "You can do this application." I said, "I think we got a shot at this." And so we were awarded $10,000 for basically which would take care of the pitch competition.
Right. Yeah, it was a great opportunity because there was no match, and there were only 11 communities that were selected to participate in this, and they had full funding for 11 to actually complete it. So we weren't competing with anyone else other than ourselves to get a proposal in that they approved and accepted. And they were really excited about our pitch project. So
Very good.
Very good. All right. Well, Tim, thank you so much, man.
thank you.
Good stuff.
More information to be coming.
Yeah. All right. The day of the next council meeting is Monday, August 26th at 6 p.m. The day of the next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, August 26th at 1:45 p.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have first, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.